Hello and good evening, viewers. I'm very, very sorry that I. Oh, here's the light rather being in the way. The light, put it back that way. Right. Okay. I'm very sorry to be so late as usual. Somebody wanted to sit in a bar, so obviously we had to go sit in a bar. So we were a little late, but we met some very nice people in the bar. And good evening to Keeley. So thank you for everyone. Susie Ashenden, welcome. Thank you. And yes, today I've done a bit of filming with Ron Swanson about Madeleine McCann. So that was an interesting thing to do. I believe he will be editing and uploading a video shortly. It was a pre-record. It wasn't a live video, not one of those lives like this. Susie Ashenden loves Ron. Yes, he's a nice man, isn't he? He's a lovely gentleman. And I also spoke to his friend Sean Atwood today, and Sean Atwood and him have made up, and all is nice in the world of those two. So, yesterday I spoke with somebody I'd had a row with. Sometimes it's best to forgive and forget. So there you go. Sometimes you can have a row, but sometimes you don't really want to return to the old scene of the crime, but sometimes one does that. So anyway, I believe you can all hear me loud and clear. I wanted to film this outside, but I've been vetoed, so I'm sitting here. The lighting is actually quite good tonight. The little bird has not come back. It went off this morning on its little mission. It did have a whole chicken carcass. Well, if it wants to go, it can go. It's up to it what it does. It's not my responsibility forever and ever, but I hope if it comes back tonight, we'll make sure it has good shelter. But I think little Minnie Thatcher likes to go on an adventure, and well, if it comes back, it'll come back. If it's hungry, it'll come back. I bet you it will. Like the bad penny, of course. When it's realized that the grass isn't always greener on the other side, it may well return. So we will see. So there we go. Well, there's 30 of you here already. I'm very, very sorry we are late, as usual. This is not my fault. I am never late for anything normally, but other people do tend to get in the way of my punctuality. And of course, on Friday we won't be having any program because we are going to collect a Broadstairs resident who will be visiting. And of course, the Broadstairs resident and I will be doing a joint program, I'm sure. So that'll be nice on Saturday, perhaps. So yes. Anyway, so. Anyway, right. Right, Miss Marple can't stay because she's got to go and pick someone up from the airport. Well, Miss Marple won't win the quiz then, Miss Marple, will you? So Miss Marple will miss out on tonight's quiz. God knows where I put the quiz book. Oh, it's inside the Daily Mail. Anyway, there we are. So whilst we're waiting for a few more of you to come in, have you any questions? Obviously, I've been reading all the stuff on Frederick Forsyth. Absolutely wonderful that he was a prolific letter writer to the Daily Telegraph, over 150 published letters in the Telegraph. I think I've had about 10 or 15 myself, so in the Telegraph, but I haven't written to the Telegraph in years. When I was at university, I was rather a prolific letter writer myself to the Spectator, the Telegraph, etc., etc. But I haven't written one. I feel like writing one to the Daily Mail because the Daily Mail letter page is full of junk. It's absolutely awful. The people who write, God knows why they publish this rubbish that these people write. They're obviously insane. These people that write in, they're obviously completely off their rockers. Most people who write letters are a bit bonkers. And Freddie Forsyth, a bit like my old friend Bill Deeds, Lord Deeds, who was the only person to be a cabinet minister and the only person to be an editor of a newspaper at the same time, which would obviously be considered a conflict of interest today. He would write articles for the Telegraph, and it would be, I hate the European Union, and then it would be the birds in the hedgerows against doing this, that, and the other. And he was an absolutely jolly old soul and absolutely wonderful. And Frederick Forsyth had the same kind of mentality, from what I gather. I didn't know Frederick Forsyth very well. I only met him a couple of times, but at this local pub, somebody wrote into the Telegraph today, he always had the table 007. The table was named for him. So they're very sad that they'll never have him coming back for table 007. And he used to do his Telegraph crossword at the table. I used to love doing my little Times crossword in the bars of Chelsea myself. I do love a little crossword. It challenges the brain. One must challenge one's brain on a daily basis, whatever one does. And thank you very much to all the kind souls who are sending me books. Absolutely generous of you. And thank you particularly to the gentleman who sent me a picture of the books that he's boxed up. I don't know what's in the box, but it looks like rather a substantial box. So hopefully that'll keep me going. And this afternoon in a bar, I'm, a man in a bar, met a man in a bar, and they'd flown in at 2 a.m. from Colchester in Essex. And he said, "Oh, I'll bring you some P.G. Wodehouse." Well, that's very, very nice. So he's got a P.G. Wodehouse book, and on Saturday he might bring me that. So that'll keep me entertained. I love a bit of P.G. Wodehouse. Fabulous stuff. Great. My friend in Broadstairs, Peter Cherry, he's very involved in the P.G. Wodehouse Society. Obviously, P.G. Wodehouse created all sorts of, what ho, all those kind of words were down to P.G. Wodehouse. We wouldn't have such wonderful, wacky language if it weren't for P.G. Wodehouse. So fantastic work, P.G. Wodehouse. So there we are. Okay. Right. Have you any questions for me? You've been on a long walk. Okay. Have I ever met Ash Sarkar? Asks Lee Kicker. I have never met Ash Sarkar, and I hope never to meet Ash Sarkar. Ash Sarkar and Owen Jones are the two most rabid, ranting, left-wing lunatics on the entire planet. Her Navarra media is not something I enjoy. I don't enjoy seeing her on the Daily Politics. I in England, when I'm there, I watch the Daily Politics religiously. I loved watching. I liked it when Andrew Neil presented it more than Joe Coburn. But Joe Coburn is a good presenter, but her choice of guests are very lacking. It's very lacking. Madeline Grant, the right-wing ranter. I can't stand Madeline Grant. The one who said something about her breasts when she was at Oxford Union, and disgusting way of talking. And now she's like the poster girl of the right wing for the Daily Telegraph. She is absolutely abhorrent. And then on the left wing spectrum, we've got Ash Sarkar, and Owen Jones. Owen Jones, who wrote the book on chavs and goes on about how he was beaten up, all of that nonsense. And I'm sorry about the noises in the background. Again, this is why I should have done this program in the garden, because I don't need noise. Right, okay. It's not fair to have this noise. Please, I don't need noise. Thank you. Yes, Owen Jones won an award last week. I don't know what Owen Jones won an award for last week, but it should be prized Burke of the Year. He is a revolting little ranting pest. He is so whiny, and he's whingy, and he is pathetic. I hope never to meet Owen Jones, because he is disgusting. He is revolting. He's worse than Ash Sarkar. Ash Sarkar is pretty bad. But, Owen Jones and his bleating. I'm going to have to probably move my program outside in a moment. I'm very sorry about this noise. I cannot have noise in the background. It's putting me off doing my program. This is not fair. I did complain about this before we started, and I was told you must do the program inside. Anyway, I'm very sorry. I do apologize. We'll try again for a moment, and if we don't have more interruptions, we'll continue here. Otherwise, I will have to move the program outside. Okay, right. Yes, you can't hear the noise. Okay, well, that's good. Right, have I seen Greta Thunberg's sister dancing? No, I haven't seen Greta's. I'm going to talk about Greta, but I haven't seen yet the thing. But I believe Greta's sister is a bit more raunchy and a bit more, naughty, and she's been doing some naughty videos. So, the Greta, the Thunberg family the parents are the ones, and I'll come to them. They're not very nice people. They clearly want to just be famous through their children, so they're encouraging these children to misbehave. Anyway, we'll come to that. Okay, you don't like Greta. Okay, no, I don't like Greta either. Okay, right. Well, there's 74 of you now. We're coming up. Lots more. Okay. Right. Okay. Well, next question. Yes, you can't hear the noise, but it's very annoying for me. Yes, it is annoying to have people interrupting in the background. When one makes a program, one wants peace and quiet, and that is what one needs, not grunting and groaning and growling and farting and burping and all the rest of it. Yes. Okay. Next question. Have we got any more questions? Let's have a few more questions before, when we get to 100, I'll start talking about things. You say rip to Brian Wilson, founder of the Beach Boys. Well, I didn't know Brian Wilson, the founder of the Beach Boys, and I didn't know he died. But very successful people. I don't know anything about. I couldn't possibly comment because I don't know anything about it. And I don't know if he has actually died, because often people make things up. So, but no, I'm sure you're probably correct. But it's so warm today here in Scotland. Okay, Enigma. Where are you in Scotland, Enigma? I love Scotland. And of course, I was speaking with Ron earlier, who was in Edinburgh. Edinburgh is an absolutely glorious city. It's the best city you could ever go to because you can walk around it. It's very, very easy. And you've got countryside in the middle of it. You've got the Arthur's Seat, which you can climb up the hill. And obviously there was that murder there, which was a little bit strange. The poor Indian lady whose husband threw her off the cliff. But I have climbed the Arthur's Seat myself, and also the little tower in the center, which I've climbed up. I don't know, probably about 300, 400 steps or whatever it is. I've done that. I've done all sorts of things in Edinburgh. Edinburgh is possibly the most lovely place one could live, because if you lived in the center of it, it's got beautiful Georgian, architecture. It's got a bit of countryside in the middle of it. You've got the coast straight away there. It's kind of like the perfect city, isn't it, really? An absolutely wonderful place. And lovely cheese shops, lovely restaurants. The cheese shop particularly, there's a wonderful cheese shop there. I do really like that. I do think Edinburgh has it all. Great railway station, Waverley, lovely hotels, lovely little gardens, all the rest of it. It's good. The botanical gardens and all the rest. There's a bit of the festival. Absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong about Edinburgh to me. It's one of those places that's just kind of got it. It's kind of perfect. It's so much better than Sadiq Khan London, and I'm going to come to talk about him later. So I'm not very happy about him getting a knighthood. I really am not. There we go. So do I like Cheshire cheese? I love cheddar cheese. Cheddar, not Cheshire cheese. I believe cheddar cheese is what it's called in my view. Have I been to the Edinburgh Tattoo? No, I've never been to the Edinburgh Tattoo, but maybe one day. You're not into King Charles. Well, I like King Charles, but I don't agree with his views on Greta, but we'll come to that also. Brenda loves the new tram in Edinburgh. Well, I haven't been to Edinburgh recently, so I haven't tried out the tram, but that sounds like fun. I like trams. They're very jolly things to go on. I love a tram. Okay, better than a bus, yes. Yes, it's disgraceful that Sadiq is getting a knighthood. Well, we'll come to all of that later. You'd like to take your son to Edinburgh. It's a beautiful place. Not been for years. Well, you must make up for it. You must go very soon, because it's a great place to go. And I'm not the tourist minister for Edinburgh, but I do say out of all the places to go in the UK, Edinburgh is a wonderful place. And I love Scotland. My heart is in Scotland. Today, well, it may be a question in the quiz, so I can't answer. Ed Sheeran said where he was culturally connected to, so I won't mention where, because it's actually one of my questions in the quiz I'll have to give you, because I've only managed to write 1.5 quizzes and you've had all the others. I can't write quizzes fast enough these days. It's impossible because I don't get enough time in the morning because all I do is spend my time cleaning and throwing out bottles and dealing with dirty floors and whatever else I have to do. It's a bit of a trial. So, I haven't got time enough to write my quizzes. And so, anyway, we've got one quiz for tonight. I can't give you more than one because I'm only halfway through the second. And then I got a phone call saying, come to this bar. And I was having my nice cup of Yorkshire tea. And I wish I'd just continued writing the quiz, to be honest, because it would have been much easier because then we'd have two quizzes. But there we go. Anyway, you get one quiz tonight. So that's all right. Or you can have an old quiz if you really want one. We can always do that. Yes. So you love good cheese. You're in your caravan along the south coast with a tinned sardine and a beautiful salad with jacket potatoes, butter and parsley, and a bottle of Old Peculiar. Well, that sounds very nice. I wouldn't mind a jacket potato and butter and parsley. The last time I had a jacket potato, I had it with some caviar, of all things, in January when I was staying with my lovely friends, and it was an absolute treat. But lots of butter and lots of caviar. That was quite fun. So that was nice. But I like jacket potatoes with tuna and things like that, and all sorts of things. You can have all sorts of things with jacket potato. But I want to have a cheese toasty, and I've got some lovely recipes for those here. And I don't have any bread, so I can't make that tonight, unfortunately. But I did have some fish fingers earlier. I love a fish finger. But no, we've got no bread, so that's a bit of a problem. Somebody did organize a delivery of parcels here, and it included bread with chocolate. I tried it today. Ugh, horrible. It's not really I can't do anything with that. I don't know what to do. Chocolate bread is not a good idea. It's okay if you probably toast it, I suppose, but I can't make a sandwich with it, can I? So I need some normal bread. I should have got some normal bread, but I forgot to get any more, which unfortunately, I don't really like the French bread. Let's be honest, it goes stale immediately. I like what they call the American bread here, but I forgot to get any more. And anyway, I can later have, and I may well do it, some fish fingers just with some peas or something because there's not much else we can do. So there we go. But we can go and get some bread tomorrow. So there's always a way. But yes, we haven't had a glorious culinary festival today. Today hasn't been about festivals. What's my method of making a cheese toasty? I think the best way to make a cheese toasty when you don't have a toaster, as we don't, is to fry the bread in the pan and do it that way. And then gradually add the cheese on top and then put the cheese under the grill and then add some other extras like some onion. That is what I would do. A little bit of onion, fried onion, lovely, absolutely glorious. That's the kind of thing. A bit of spice, bit of Tabasco, whatever you fancy, really. A bit of Worcester sauce, that kind of thing. Yeah, that's the kind of nice way of making a cheese toasty. I've got a lovely recipe here from the Telegraph from the other day because there was an article about cheese toasties and how the nation consumes at least one a week on average. There you go. There's a fact for you. I think we had that in the quiz the other day. A cheese toasty is a very reassuring dish. It's one of those go-to dishes that you could just have whenever you're feeling a bit down. When you're feeling a bit depressed, you might want something to cheer you up. And a bit of cheese toasty is not a bad thing. It's like, for me, having a tuna baguette. I love tuna. I love a tuna sandwich, lots of mayonnaise, but I like to spice it up with a bit of paprika and a few other things, but other people like plain. I'm not a plain person. I like spice. This is why I'm a bit depressed here because I don't get to eat curry, and I love a Ruby Murray. I love a bit of spice. I really would love to have a curry. And there's nowhere to go for a curry around here, so it's a bit unfortunate in that regard. And a certain person here, she doesn't like spice, so she's not really into it. So it doesn't really help. And Chinese as well. I'd rather have the spicy stuff, but obviously, when you're with somebody who doesn't like that, you can't really have it. But anyway, my friend's coming, and he likes a bit of spice, so maybe we'll try and find a curry house because that's what I really want. I'd love to go to a curry house. I miss that so much. The lovely curries I had in Broadstairs. It was sad when the curry house there that I used to go to closed down. You could take your own booze there. It was a great little spot because you took your own booze, but then sadly it just closed down. It was a bit downbeat, and it wasn't the best, but perfectly it was perfectly edible. But the Chinese was very nice too. But the Chinese, you couldn't take your own wine; you had to have their wine. But we often did a takeaway from the Chinese, which was nice. Here, there is a place called the Thai Boat, but their food is shocking. And all the locals said, you don't go there, you get food poisoning. So we're not going back there ever again. The last time was awful. It was so bad. It was horrible. In every community, we have all these Chinese and Indian restaurants, and you find the good one. Like in South Kensington in London, there's one called Noor Jahan. It was a favorite of the nasty Rolf Harris. I often saw him there, and Hugh Grant, of all people. It was just an affordable neighborhood restaurant, but I love Noor Jahan. That was my very much go-to for Indian food in that district of London. I've been to all the fancy Indian restaurants. Lovely as also Benares. I was there in late last year at a lunch hosted by my lovely Dutch friend who I had on the phone today. I helped him write a document. He's a hedge fund financier who was the son of a heroin addict who sorted his own life out and became a success. He's from Africa, and he's a lovely gentleman. He hosted a lunch for his hedge fund there, and Benares is a very fancy Indian restaurant, and it was lovely. But I'd much prefer the simpler Noor Jahan type places where it's just your basics. That's what I like. I don't mind a chicken korma, even though that is not an Indian dish, as John Prescott would rightly point out if he was still alive. Good old Prescott. I love Prescott. Good old puncher Prescott. Smash people in the face if they throw anything at him. Good for him. He stood up for himself. I respected John Prescott. Good old Two Jags. Only accepted a title because his wife told him to, because she wanted the title. But, she had been a long-suffering Pauline. Pauline was quite a character in her own right. I didn't know them very well, but I thought they were absolutely spectacular, those Prescotts. And his program he did where he drove around Britain visiting food places. What a lovely set of programs that was. So, I think we need some more characters in the world. Absolutely. Brenda says he was hilarious. I totally agree with you. Right. Right. God bless Wilson. I don't know who Wilson. Brian Wilson. You say God bless Brian Wilson. Okay. Okay, that's fair enough, but I don't know. Oh, yes, this is the Beach Boys man. Yes. Well, I don't know. I'm not an expert on the Beach Boys, so I can't possibly comment. So I don't know it. I have nothing to add other than to say I'm very sorry that he died. But I'm no expert on them. Amanda says Pauline had spectacular hair. She certainly did. She was certainly a bit like Doreen from the Birds of a Feather. Doreen is a lovely lady who I don't know what Doreen's what the lady who played Doreen was called, but I have met her briefly at one of Liz Brewer's parties. But unlike Linda Robson, who I cannot stand, I am not a fan of Linda Robson. Linda Robson attended my friend Arthur's funeral and she behaved appallingly. So I am not a fan of Linda Robson. Linda Robson should be ashamed of herself for her behavior that day. It was very inappropriate. That's all I shall say. I won't go into it further, but Linda Robson, shame on your house. Shame on you. Don't like you. Um, Make yourself a good chicken curry. Yes, well, I would, but nobody else will eat it. But maybe when my friend Max is here, I can make a chicken curry. But I'm planning on doing a Moroccan spiced lamb. I've got a nice little recipe for that from the Financial Times. So we'll be having the marinated. You have to marinate the lamb for a couple of hours and put it in the spices, and it'll be very, very nice. With a few broad beans and things like that, it will be very, very nice. And we can do a few other things out of the recipe, like some lovely new potatoes and things like that. Yes, Linda Robson is rough. I totally agree with you. She is a shameful disgrace. And she's also on that revolting program called Loose Women. I do not like the program called Loose Women. I did start a petition against it. My petition was a disaster. It hasn't worked. It's not like my other petitions. And please do sign my sloth petition. I haven't got the link here. Let me try and find it. I think the sloth petition has now reached well over 1,000. Sloth petition. This computer does tend to close itself down from time to time, so I have to reopen all the windows. Well, as of today, there are 1,072 signatures on the sloth petition. Thank you very much to every one of you, 1,072 of you, but we need many, many more. My other petitions get 25, 50,000 signatures, so we've got to speed it up, but it is growing. I've just provided you the link. Yes, you say Max do this. So this is the computer I borrowed. I will be getting a new computer. I'll be getting on with that soon. We'll sort that out. You'd like a lamb kofta? Yes, I love that too. Yes, lovely. Lamb biryani, absolutely delicious. All sorts of lovely dishes. But I love a bit of spice. I don't like bland food. I never have. I'm totally into spice it up. I used to love as a child being taken out, to an Indian restaurant to have some poppadoms and all the mango chutney and to begin and all the lovely other stuff. And I grew up with a very multicultural environment because obviously my mother was quite involved with all sorts of refugees, political refugees. And we had neighbors, we had the most amazing Caribbean lady who was one of the first black nurses in Britain, who was a pioneer, and she used to bring people like Desmond Tutu to our house. We played cricket with him, with the children he brought. I was useless, obviously, and I was shouted at. But we met all sorts of people from lots of backgrounds. We had Japanese people staying with us, so I got to learn about sushi. I love sushi. I love all sorts of food. The food should be a variety. I don't like just bland food, but I do love a fish finger, for example, and I love a burger. Simple food can be the best, and a cheese toasty equally. But roast chicken on a Sunday, roast lamb, things like that, lovely, lovely food. And now we've got over 100 of you here. Well done. Thank you for arriving. It's very kind of you to participate. Thank you. Variety is the spice of life, precisely. Sometimes you just want parsnip soup. I was speaking today with someone about Ena Baxter and Baxter's soup, and I love their spicy parsnip soup. But obviously, I added things to it. I would always add a bit of Tabasco or whatever because I want a bit extra. So I don't like bland food. I've never have. So that is, I'm a man of the people. Okay, well, I wouldn't say I'm that, but I tried. I like all sorts of people. I can get on with a tramp, or I can get on with a prime minister. I've spoken with kings, and I've spoken with hobos, all sorts of people. So one in life must embrace everything until you don't like it. If you don't like something, stop doing it. That is the best policy. One must never sell out one's soul for the sake of putting up with something that's not good. If something's bad, get rid of it. Cut out the snake, cut out the cancer. That is very important. And that is what I would say. So, are we still allowed to say the word tramp? Well, I will continue to use the word tramp. I'm like J.K. Rowling. I'd rather go to prison for using the wrong kind of language than tolerate being told what to say or do. I am me, myself, and I will not be changing who I am for anyone. I am me, and that is it. I am not into LGBTQ plus XYZ tells me that I am not allowed to say this. No, sorry. Doesn't work that way. I respect people have the right to be whatever they want to be. Let them be whatever they want to be, but don't ram it down my throat. Shove it up your jumper if you don't like that. I'm not going to be tolerating anyone telling me ever what I'm to say or what pronouns I'm meant to use or whatever. Whatever. Seriously. And I'm with J.K. Rowling. I stand with her, and I do think that those silly little actors who have been involved with her, like that silly little Eddie Redmayne, shame on him, and that stupid Emma Watson, they should put a sock in it. They only got rich because of her, so they should shut up, man up, grow up, and show up. Oh, no, they won't, of course. They like to whinge and whine. Another bunch of pathetic little specimens who should be thrown on the Bibby Stockholm. Let's put Emma Watson and Eddie Redmayne on the Bibby Stockholm. They're the next two I want thrown on it. So there we go. JK is a good woman. Yes. And I did read today about, and it's also a quiz question, so I won't go into it too much, but the House of Lords, seriously, serving certain dishes for the Pride Week. Seriously, it's a quiz question, so I can't give you the discussion, but you may have read the story, but absolutely ridiculous. Yes, let's stand with the oppressed. The oppressed are people like us. We are not allowed to stand up and say a man is a man and a woman is a woman. That is what we are born. And yes, I have no problem with gay people, transsexual people. Be whatever you want to be, but don't tell me what I should be. I don't identify as, X or Y or B or C or 1 or 2 or Q or whatever, or a dragon, the dragon woman. Oh God, I've forgotten about her. I don't call myself a carpet. I don't identify as a lavatory. I don't identify as, a cat or a dog or whatever, because I'm not a cat or a dog. That's ridiculous. In my view, these people are crazy. Lock them up in the funny farm because they are completely insane. But be what you want to be, but stop ramming it down our throats. J.K. Rowling is brilliant. Well done to her for standing up. And also Sharon, the Olympian, I've forgotten her surname, that's Sharon Davis. Yes, well done to Sharon Davis also. Another one who says, we don't want these people in sport because they are cheating. They are cheats. A man should not be competing against a woman because a man is of a different athletic capability to the woman. It's just a fact. Oh no, we're all the same. We're not all the same. Our genetic build-up is different. Get over it, you stupid idiots. I will not tolerate this. I would rather go to prison with J.K. Rowling. Lock me up for having my views. I am, Angela Rayner, no doubt, will, get out a little flag and, the rainbow flag and all of this. Well, look, I realized that gay people were oppressed. It's not fair the way they were treated. Terrible things were done to people just because of their sexuality. Some people are gay. Some people are straight. Some people like apples. Some people like pears. Some people also like apples and pears. That is how one should view this. If you want to be bisexual, be bisexual. Be whatever you want to be sexual. But don't try and ram it down other people's throats. That is not correct. And don't try and bring it into sport. And don't try and go around like this India Willoughby. This is the worst one of the lot. I cannot stand this India Willoughby. What a freak. What a complete nutcase that one is. That one needs locking up in the funny farm because it's mentally unhinged. It's just ranting and raving and saying nasty things all the time. Whatever it wants to be. I don't know what it identifies as, but bonkers Britain should not tolerate any more of India Willoughby, whoever you are. You are a complete bore. You and Owen Jones, go and get a room, clear off, and take that Darren Grimes of GB News with you. He's another little ranting little pest. You know, he attacks the woke, but he's just another weirdo. Let's be honest. He's another freak. He's the right-wing version of the India Willoughby. He's just as bad. I have a blanket ban on them, whether they're right-wing, left-wing, whatever wing. I don't like this nonsense. I think a man is a man, a woman is a woman. Let's be straightforward. If you want to be gay, no problem. If you want to be lesbian, be lesbian. If you want to be bisexual, if you want to be transsexual, be whatever you want to bloody be. Everybody, be whatever. But if you want to identify as a carpet, you're clearly crackers. If you want to be a carpet, you clearly are mentally unhinged. You should be locked up for your own safety because you cannot be a carpet. You weren't born a carpet, were you? And you weren't born a dog, and you weren't born a cat. And, you know, in these American schools, thank God for Donald Trump in a way. I don't like Donald Trump, but, you know, seriously, it's time these American schools got rid of it. The children want to identify as a cat, so they put a litter tray at the back of the room so the little child can go and behave like a cat. That is stupid. It's moronic. We're not cats. It's a bit like that Bride of Wildenstein. She thought she wanted to be a cat. And look what happened to her. But it didn't end very well, did it? Stupid old bag. She was a complete nutcase. All of these people should be put in the funny farm. Right. Okay. I'm obviously having a rant. And yes, you want to be a seagull, so Matthew will look after me. Well, I would be looking after the little seagull, but it hasn't come back yet. It'll come back when it wants some food, I can guarantee that. I don't mind looking after it at all, but I don't like the fact that the German lady kicked it in the sea. That wasn't a very nice thing to do. That was malicious and unkind and cruel. And seagulls are protected birds, so she shouldn't have done that. What she did was actually a criminal offence in France just as much as it's a criminal offence in England. However, I have no evidence to prove that she was doing it other than the neighbour told me, so I cannot actually physically prove what she did, but she did tell me she wished to kick it in the sea, so I do believe them because I hadn't told them what she wished to do. So I think by independent evidence, it seems likely she did do that. So there we go. Chicken soup. Yes. You identify as Matthew Steeples, says Dance Up. Well, there is another person called Matthew Steeples. I believe he lives in Hull. He's a computer technician, and sometimes people confuse him with me. I don't know anything about him. He's no relation of mine, as far as I'm aware. I don't know who he is, but he is something to do with computers, and he lives in Hull, which is, of course, where John Prescott hailed. You know, he was up in that region. Good old Prescott, the puncher, 2 Jags, and I think we've already discussed him, and he was a great guy. Yes, a litter tray for a child cat. There we go. Poor Minnie Thatcher. Well, the little bird was looked after all night, and it was given shelter, and it was given a chicken carcass this morning, and it did pick at it for a little while, and then I let it out, and it didn't seem to want to leave. It was quite happy with its chicken carcass, and then I came back, and it had gone in the nice German's garden, and unfortunately they didn't want it there, so I had to go and remove it. And then it went on its merry way down to the nasty German who tried to kill it. And then I don't know where it's gone since, but I think it's probably gone wandering, and it may come back. But it may not. It may want to go on an adventure. So anyway, it hasn't come back tonight. So if it doesn't come back, that's so be it. It's got to get freedom one day. And anyway, it's had plenty of food. It liked the peaches. It didn't like bananas. It did not like the bananas. It refused to eat those, and they were very unappealing by the time I had to throw them in the water to get rid of them. But it likes chicken, and it likes bread and milk, and it likes dog food, and that's about it, really. The elderly seagulls, the Penelope and Keith, they only like crisps and madeleines. They like sweet or sugar. They like salt and vinegar crisps, or they don't like bread. They're not into bread. They don't like fruit. They don't like any kind of fruit. They don't like any kind of vegetable. They're very particular, those two. But Penelope and Keith, well, have a right to be so. It's 50 years of good life celebrated this year. My great friend Felicity Kendall, I had a lovely time with her at Daphne's restaurant with my lovely Barbara Minto. Only about a year or so ago. We had a lovely time, and before her poor husband died, she was married to him twice, actually. Felicity Kendall is an absolutely fabulous lady and so much fun. I met her at the Brasserie many years ago, and she's always jolly, and she campaigns for all the people of Chelsea on all sorts of heritage things as well. She does all sorts of good work, this Felicity. Felicity is one of those troopers who keeps going. So we salute you, Felicity Kendall, a good lady. It's good to celebrate good people as much as it's to denigrate people like Greta. Now, there's 112 of you here, so I'll talk to you a little bit about Greta. I don't know, what do you think of Greta? Now, your views on Greta, please. Let's have a few views from you. I think that Greta is one of the most revolting people on the planet. I was just talking with two men from Essex, two gentlemen, lovely gentlemen, about Greta. No, they don't like Greta. I don't like Greta. I don't think many people do like Greta. I'm very disappointed in King Charles, because King Charles is a man of good judgment generally, but he invited Greta, obviously the environmental connection. Greta could do a lot of good for the world, but Greta is actually a manipulated little brat. She is controlled by her nasty parents. Her nasty parents wanted to be famous. They wanted to be musicians. They failed. They were the weakest link. Anne Robinson would have told them, goodbye, get out. Basically losers. Complete pair of losers. So they pushed that petulant child who, quite frankly, is just an annoying, irritating little brat. All she's ever done is cause havoc wherever she goes. And what she has done in Gaza, with Israel, shame on her. She didn't take any aid. She didn't go there to help anybody. She went there to get attention for herself. And her parents probably encouraged it. And all that throwing the phones in the sea and throwing a computer in the sea. Well, how's that environmentally? That's environmental damage. You're damaging things, you stupid little girl. She should grow up. An absolute nuisance is that little rat. She is a rat. And that sinking ship, what a disgrace. And she's very lucky she got off so lightly. I think she should have been locked up for what she's done. Shame on her. Absolutely appalling. Absolutely shocking. We don't like her. Who pays for her? And who pays for all these mobile phones? Because obviously, as soon as she was back at the airport, she had another mobile phone within minutes, didn't she? Grim Greta, the grabber, seems to get all sorts of things. Who is paying for Greta Thunberg? That's what I'd like to know. Who is funding this evil little rat? I don't think she adds anything positive to the world. I don't think those oil protesters add anything positive. Throwing paint over beautiful artworks, shame on the lot of them. They're a load of rubbish. All these people leave, just go away. You're horrible people. You're not helping the environment by throwing things over or anything. And you're not helping the people of Gaza by turning up with a stupid boat with nothing on it other than a load of old rubbish people. The lot of the people, they all sounded like they were gross, the whole lot of them. Awful people. Right, okay. She's a hypocrite, says the Blue Nomad. Flabby says all these people who toot about the environment are often the worst offenders. Precisely. If you're going to go around chucking mobile phones and computers in the ocean, then you're worse than people who throw plastic in the ocean, aren't you? Because it's how many thousand years will that take to degrade? You stupid idiots. Shame on you, Greta Thunberg. Shame on you. Yes. They are extremists, precisely. They should make a horror movie and call it Greta, says David. I totally agree with you. Grim Greta would be a great title for a horror film, wouldn't it? And you could have her face. She's like Chucky, isn't she? She's the most ugly-looking little specimen. And now her sister's supposedly been doing raunchy videos, her nasty little sister. So, well, I don't know anything about the nasty little sister yet, but she's probably just as bad as her with the pushy parents. The parents just want their children to be, they want to live out their lives through these silly children, a bit like the Beckhams and their silly children and their silly rows. So there we go. There we are. Right. Yes, you find it quite funny that I call her Chucky. I sort of tolerated Charles when the Queen was alive, but now he's something and nothing, says Anne of Cleavers. Well, I do think that King Charles is very good on the environment, but I don't think he should be associating with Greta Thunberg. I don't think anybody should associate with this criminal little brat. She is a criminal, and she's a disgrace, and well done to Israel for deporting her. I am not saying that Israel is innocent in the whole matter of what goes on in Palestine. I'm not saying that I support either side. I'm saying that the Israelis and the Palestinians should seek some kind of resolution. I do believe that Hamas should be destroyed. I think Hamas is evil, and I also think that Netanyahu is evil, and Netanyahu should be prosecuted. But I don't think that. I think that the Israelis deserve to be, they deserve their place, and the Palestinians deserve theirs. I don't think that Hamas and Netanyahu should exist. I think that those two things are the problem in this situation. That is all I shall say on that topic. I am not political on that. I don't want to get into that, but I will say that Grim Greta has no right going there interfering. It's none of her business. And well done to them for deporting her. Send her back, throw her on the Bibi Stockholm. She can go on there with Eddie Redmayne. So we've got three of them tonight, Emma Watson, and we should make a new list of who should be on the Bibi Stockholm. I want that Emma Watson thrown on there. Obviously, we've already got Philip Schofield and Michael Barrymore and all the rest, and Holly Willoughby. Oh, I'm so sick of hearing about Holly Willoughby. Oh, she's been coming up again in the news. Poor Holly's having a bad time. Oh dear. We should all cry for Holly Willoughby, the Q scupper, the Q jumper. What a shameful piece of rubbish she is. I can't stand her. I wasn't planning on talking about her, so she's an irrelevance. Anyway, Barrymore, yes, well, we don't like him. Prince Andrew, and of course, Fergie. Yes, Fergie. It's absolutely awful. Khan getting a knighthood. Yes, okay, well, we can move along to the next topic. Sadiq Khan has been given a knighthood, and King Charles said, I should have done this long ago. I should have done this long ago. Well, that's another mistake, King Charles. I'm not very impressed on that one. Sadiq Khan did not deserve a knighthood because Sadiq Khan has wrecked London. Lawless London is a total disgrace, as my friend Peter Blexley points out um, regularly. Peter Blexley regularly calls out the lawless London that exists because of the knife crime. You know, there he is in his £300,000 armoured Range Rover, whilst the rest of the population have to go around on the dirty, graffiti-laden underground. Sadiq Khan, you are as much use as a chocolate teapot. You are a total waste of space. You are shameful. You are rubbish. You're junk. It's nothing to do with your race, with your background. It's to do with the fact that you are an incompetent. You don't know what you're doing. You are a fool. You are a moron. You are worse than the village Burke. You are a prize pillock. And frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself because you do nothing for London. You are a waste of space. You don't add anything to the narrative. You don't do anything that's positive. You don't do anything to attract business. You don't do anything to stop the lawlessness. Absolutely appalling. This man should be driven from office. I've always said there should never be a mayor of London. I campaigned against there being a mayor of London. There was no need to have a mayor of London. You know, there are local councils. The local councils can run each area of London. There is no need to have one person in charge. What has it ever added? We've had Ken Livingstone, this moron, and that idiot Boris Johnson. You know, what a collection of old rubbish. All three of them useless individuals who have done nothing. What did Boris Johnson do? Add a load of bloody bicycle lanes. We don't need all these bloody bicycle lanes everywhere. You know, all it's done is make the roads more congested. It's an absolute waste of space. It's kept Jeremy Vine happy, but it hasn't done anything for anybody else, has it? So Boris Johnson was rubbish in that regard. Ken Livingstone, you know, the man who, you know, king of newts, you know, what pushed a journalist over a wall and assaulted him. Lovely guy, Ken Livingstone, you know, complete nutcase, left-wing firebrand, completely insane. And this Sadiq Khan, well, knife crime. What will you be remembered for? Loads more knife crime. People being stabbed. You are absolutely appalling. Shocking government and a waste of public money. It's just a total waste of money. You couldn't live in London. It's a nightmare. It's too manic for you. Jeremy Vine is living for finding cycle-related things to film and complain about. So he's flabby. Yes, all he does is do that. I've had a couple of nice conversations with Jeremy Vine, but that was before. That was not about cycling. My father can't stand Jeremy Vine. He thinks he's the whinger. And my dad loves watching the Tour de France and all of this and all these cycling races. My dad is very into watching cycling. My father's into all sorts of things, but he doesn't like Jeremy Vine, and I don't think many people I know like Jeremy Vine. Anyway, there we go. Our Prime Minister should bog off too. Yes, well, Keir Starmer is looking worse and worse. And I read a very good article in the Telegraph today about how all the football fans they're getting a bit sick of him, you know, banging on about football to try and be populist. It's enough. Keir Starmer, you're not populist. You're not popular. You're not going to be popular. You're just awful. Go and get some more glasses from Lord Ali. Get your wife some more knickers from Lord Ali. You know, go and scrounge some more Taylor Swift tickets, you disgraceful man. Go and get something to do with your donkey field and make a bit of a profit. You know, you're not a very nice man, Keir Starmer. And what happened with those little boys? Those three little boys who burnt your house down and all the rest of it. What's going on with them? All gone rather quiet, hasn't it? I'll leave it there. Keir's knickers. Yeah. It's not Snickers. It's Keir's knickers. Yep. There we go. We do have some Snickers chocolates here. I don't like Snickers because I don't like the nuttiness of the horrible things. I'll have to give them to the neighbours or something because I can't eat them. I did eat all the other things in the selection box, I will admit, but I'm not into Snickers, never have been. I don't really like the Bounty either, but I did actually try one of those earlier, and then I regretted it. But I do like the Galaxy. That's all right, and the Mars bar and the other thing, the Maltesers. They're all very nice. But there we go. Yes, there we go. Knickers, yes. Well, we might have a question in the quiz about knickers. Yes, Bridget Jones's diary. I think I have a question relating to that coming up in a quiz for you. We're now at 54 minutes, but we'll keep going. We haven't even got through the next stage of the program. So anyway, right. Okay, you were thinking of Bridget. Yes, well, Bridget Jones, I think she rather liked things in the bathtub. I think that was more her thing. You know, she liked consuming a certain type of wine, but that might be something to do with the quiz. So we won't go there quite yet because you might get a question. Unless I gave that question yesterday, I can't remember because I've got so many bloody questions. I'm on to quiz number 87 I'm writing at the moment. So we're nearly at 100. Anyway, we'll see what happens, and you may have a book by Christmas, so that could be a good thing. 3 publishers are interested in the quiz books, so we'll have to see. And obviously, some of you could not answer my questions because they were a bit obscure, so some of the questions may have to be changed. And some of them may be considered a little bit risque or unsuitable or whatever, so they may have to be changed. But we will, there will be an editing process, but I have to get a new computer first, and then I can type the whole bloody thing up. That will probably take me 2 weeks to do, because the typing will be a very long process. It's 20 questions times 100. I don't know what that comes to. I cannot even add up. I don't know what 20 times 100 even is. I cannot do numbers. I'm numerically dyslexic. I'm actually very thick. It's a terrible thing when it comes to numbers because numbers make me very upset. I find my heart goes into it troubles me to deal with numbers. I can't deal with numbers. It's very upsetting. I can do words, but not numbers. We already did the Chardonnay question. Yes, well, that must have been the one from yesterday because I see I only had one left because you see you've been steaming through my quizzes and we've had to do. I did have 10 spare at one point, but I haven't been able to catch up because it's very, very time consuming to write a quiz because you have to think about the process. And the process involves, thinking 3 or 4 sport questions, 3 or 4 about television, 3 or 4 about place names, geography, religion, whatever. But you've got to have questions that are designed for people who aren't, really, simple questions. Then you've got to have a few more complicated questions. So you've got to get the mixture. It's a bit like, a curry. Sugar and spice and all things nice. You've got to mix it up. Everything has to be a mixture. And that is what my quiz is about. That's why I don't, when people said, oh, make your quiz more simple and make it about Coronation Street only. I don't want to do a Coronation Street quiz or a music quiz. My quiz is my quiz and it's the way it's going to be done. But you've got to be able to answer the questions, but you've got to have something that challenges the mind. And that's why the people enjoyed it. And, we have a very international audience here. So some of the questions are about Australia and some of them about Holland. You can mix it up. You'd like me to host Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? I don't think I think Jeremy Clarkson doesn't have anything to fear from me. I don't think I'd be very good at Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. Am I interested in history? Of course I'm interested in history. I read a lot of historical things. I'm very, very interested in the past because the past is the guide to the future. I think that's where we learn lessons from. If we don't look to the past, we don't learn for the future, and that is very important. That's how I feel about history. Right, okay. Mr. Lee Kicker is going to sleep. Well, I'm sorry you're going to sleep. You're a bit early going to sleep. It's only 9 o'clock. Bye-bye, Mr. Lee Kicker. Thank you, Mr. Lee Kicker. Right. Yes, I wish I had a nice bottle of Merlot. That would be very nice right now. But I'm still on a gin and tonic. This will be my last drink for the day, and that's the end of drink because there's no more drink in the house. So we'll be going to sleep after this. Right. Okay. Would I be a contestant on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? How far would I get? Well, it would depend on the questions, wouldn't it? If I was on it, I don't know. We'd see what happens. But you know, I can answer questions, but it depends what the topic is. I don't know much about sport, I will admit, but I don't know anything about numbers. I can't do anything to do with, I've already said that. But if you gave me, geographical questions, historical questions, literature, I can talk about that. It depends what literature it is, though, of course, because I don't know really anything about anything. It would just depend. It's the luck of the draw, isn't it, with one of those things? I wouldn't be the coughing major, though. I wouldn't be cheating. I don't think that's right. What he did was very wrong, and what a naughty man he turned out to be. So there we go. So we've dealt with Sadiq Khan, and my final topic, before we have some more questions, I'm getting loads of messages coming in about something. I'm not quite sure why, but right. I was going to talk to you, if I can get it up, this Newsweek article about the Menendez brothers. So the Menendez brothers have been painting a mural. Unfortunately, the stupid article is not loading, which is not very helpful. Whether I can try again, I don't know how to do this. Technology does evade me. So Eric Menendez has been painting a mural at the R.J. Donovan facility where he's held. He's dedicated 20 hours a week to painting a massive mural honoring San Diego and the US military. Despite the limited tools, the art is boosting morale across the prison. I think that is a wonderful thing that he's been doing. Well done to Eric. Okay, well, I've got the article now. And, this is yet more evidence that the Menendez brothers are showing signs of rehabilitation. Now, it seems that whatever happens, the Menendez will not get out of prison before the middle of December. That's the possibility. And it all depends on Gavin Newsom, who, of course, is having his own little fight with Donald Trump currently, just like Elon Musk, but in a different form. So, right. It seems that I can't open this article because here it is. I've got it now. And Robert Rand, my good friend Robert, who of course is the main journalist who has covered the Menendez case since the very beginning, in the 1980s, he said the brothers remain cautiously optimistic and certainly hopeful with regard to their potential release. They're not trying to prejudice anything. They're not giving press interviews because it's wise that they remain quiet and calm and collected. It's absolutely wonderful that they are on the path to freedom, in my view, because they should have been let out of prison, paroled in 2016. It is 2025. It is not acceptable that these two boys that were abused by both mum and dad, mother was not a good person either. She said she would rather they be abused than she was abused. What a nasty woman she turned out to be. The drugged up, alcoholic, nasty mother. Not that they say that she's a bad person. They have said, that they regret what went on. But quite frankly, the things that were done to them, and when one of them was 7 years old, taken to the hospital, and it was clear what was going on, what happened to his behind. We won't go there because it's very unpleasant to talk about. But one of those boys, they should have identified this then, but they didn't bother because the authorities did not care. Oh, we have Cult Television here. Hello, Cult Television. Lovely to have you in the room. My good old friend. Absolutely fabulous. So, anyway, part of their rehabilitation, they've been partnering with the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation to develop a green space project. And they have been painting murals in the walls of the prison, which gives people, a bit of, gives them something to do, and it gives other people things to do, and it's helping the other prisoners. So it's progressive and it's a good thing. And I think, these two are not bad people. They were just people who got messed up by their mum and dad. Mum and dad were abusers. Mother and father were raping and abusing their children. They did terrible things to those children. And, eventually they snapped. They should not have done what they did. They admit that. They are not saying what they did was correct, but they should have been given manslaughter, not murder. And 61 members of the family and friends all testified at the first trial. Most of them were banned from the second trial, to say they witnessed bad things going on. 61, and they were all cut out. Shameful. Anyway, they're now 60% complete with the mural, and the mural is said to be spectacular. It's hard to believe how large it really is, said Robert Rand. Robert is an amazing journalist, and of course, I also know Hazel Thornton, who was a juror on the first case, and she's written extensively about her experiences. And I think it's great that everybody is now supporting the Menendez. It's time. I was told to shut up for many, many years. I'm also told to shut up about Jeremy Bamber, and we're getting closer with Jeremy Bamber also. As you know, the other day we had a little discussion about that, and I did speak with the Jeremy Bamber campaign team after the CCRC protest. Well done to them. Right. Okay. Right. You won't ever shut up, says Tina Del Silva. Yes. Well, I won't. No. I have campaigned for Omar Ben-Guet, Mark Alexander, Jeremy Bamber, the Menendez, against the whole Madeleine McCann narrative. And I did participate in a program today. I believe it's come out this evening about Madeleine McCann. I will be able to send you a link tomorrow when I have the link. I believe I've got the link, but I don't know where it is. I will find the link, and we can you can watch that if you really want. If you want to listen to me ranting on about Madeleine McCann. Do I think the Menendez brothers would be attacked if released? There is so much hatred for them. Alfie's mum, I think you're completely wrong. I think there's actually so much love for the Menendez brothers. The people on the internet, the majority are supporters of them. Yes, there will be people who want to harm them. There will be people who always want to harm anyone. I was personally targeted by the BNP, the EDL, etc., when I supported Gina Miller. And obviously the Viscount St. David's was sent to prison over that, and I had a restraint order against Viscount St. David's. I was attacked in a courtroom by a man called Tariq Sadiq who kicked me. I've had all of that myself. I've been through on a lesser scale, obviously, because it's a totally different matter. I do apologize for the entertainment behind me. This is the time of day when the little birdies tend to make a racket. I don't know what they're fighting about, but they want to get their own TV show. But I've been through it on a different scale. I've had people throw drinks at me in restaurants. I've experienced people screaming at me, hate you, or someone tried to strangle me in a restaurant. Sam Palmer, to do with the Eccleston saga. I've experienced all of that. I've had the bodyguards. I've been through all of that. I didn't really want it or need it, and I didn't. Frankly, the only thing I feared was acid. If someone throws acid in your face, that is the big problem because then you don't have a face basically, and your eyes could be gone, and that's what scared me, and that was what I was worried about. That was the only thing that worried me was that. But with them, I think if they come out of television, prison, when they come out of prison, they will do television interviews. They will, um, they will be they will have security. They will create new lives, but they will have to be very careful how they live their lives because there will be lunatics out there. Um, I don't think they're quite at the stage of processing what happens to them yet, but there will be plenty of people who are prepared to support them and protect them. So they will be able to lead, hopefully, good lives. And I think they will contribute to the world again. And I think they will contribute in a positive way. And I think it's a great thing that they are going to be free. It is jolly well time they were free. And all respect to them for doing good things like, the mural that they've been working on and things like that. You know, they've taught people to read in prison. Most people, 50% of people in British prisons, I don't know what the percentage is in America, 50% of people in British prisons are illiterate. That is a shocking statistic. And people in prison should be given rehabilitation just as much as punishment, because if we don't rehabilitate prisoners, then when they come out, they're only more likely to go back to crime. So, my friend who, a notorious person, if you believe the stupid media, he helps prisoners get bank accounts. Because if you don't have a bank account, you can't get a home. If you don't have a home, you can't get a bank account. That's how it works. But HSBC have been a very positive bank in that regard. So there are good schemes for various people. And I think the Menendez brothers are contributing positively to the world, and I salute them. As opposed to some of the nasty people out there who come out with horrible remarks about them, saying, that this is all a pack of lies. It isn't. There were 61 people who were prepared to speak at the first trial. 61 who said these parents were wicked and bad and did lots of bad things. Terrible what they did. And just because they were rich doesn't mean they should have got away with it. So shame on them. And it doesn't mean they should have been shot either. I'm not justifying murder. Murder is not a good idea in any situation. But, look at Ruth Ellis, another instance where, crime of passion, and then she got the death penalty. That was ridiculous. That shouldn't have happened either. There's plenty of instances where things have gone wrong with justice. And look at this man, Andrew Malkinson, wrongly kept in prison for a rape he did not commit. And all he gets is £14,000 a year compensation for keeping him in prison for all that time. Shameful. It's disgusting. They took the man's life away. Awful. Absolutely appalling. Shame on you, Keir Starmer. Why don't you do something about this? Today they've only just ended prosecuting homeless people. That was something that any government should have ended many years ago. You can't, I think that is something good that the Labour government have done today. That was actually a positive mood. So I salute you, Labour government, for that. That's the first thing you've done that's correct. Mr. Timpson helps. Yes, well said. Jane Hennessy. You think I'm a very nice person, although opinionated. Well, I do have opinions, and I do tend to voice them. Hence why I'm on here. If I didn't have an opinion, there'd be no point me coming on here, would there? So, Leslie, I don't know. If you don't like my opinions, you don't have to listen to them. And you're right. You can quite rightly debate with me and tell me my opinions are a load of old rot. I don't mind. But there we go. Flabby says it's very hard to tell if someone has been rehabilitated. You lived with a guy who'd been away for manslaughter. Oh dear. He was very helpful, kind, and great at art, but he was still at risk, and there were a few things after some questionable violent incidents. Well, I'm sorry for your experience, but I don't know who this particular person was, so I can't possibly comment. Um, I'm salt of the earth, says Cult Television, my friend. No, you're talking about someone else. Okay, it was a Royal Marine. Okay, but he'd kill you if you transgressed. Well, I don't know who that person is, but there we go. Do I think Jeremy Bamber's going to get out of prison soon? Well, we campaign for Jeremy, and I support Jeremy. I've gone from 40% convinced that Jeremy Bamber is innocent to 99%. Obviously, there's a little chance he could be guilty, but I do believe that Jeremy Bamber was telling the truth. The good thing about this channel, lots of different views, but you're all welcome to them. Precisely. If you believe Jeremy Bamber is guilty, you are entitled to believe Jeremy Bamber is guilty. But I don't, as you know. If you believe that Lucy Letby is innocent, you're entitled to believe Lucy is innocent. But I believe Lucy Letby is guilty as hell. I don't like Lucy Letby, and I think she's a very evil, evil woman. She is one of 4 women who are rightly in prison for the rest of their lives, in my humble opinion. But many of you like Lucy Letby. Leslie S. says Lucy Letby is guilty, with guilty in capital letters. Oh, I salute you. You are bang on the nail. You hammer down correctly. Absolutely. Right. Okay. Well, Cult Television's talking about the High Sheriff of Greater London. There we are. Well, that's a different matter. We've been talking about Sadiq Khan, not the High Sheriff, but there we are. I don't know what Cult Television's point wishes. His family were beadles in parts of London. Well, there we are. That's a good thing. And the name Sheriff is handed down our male members. Okay. NWEV agrees with me, 100% guilty. Okay. Well, I think at this juncture, I think it is time to do a quiz. We can have more questions after the quiz, but I will bring up my little quiz. Unfortunately, I've only got one quiz, unless you have a historic quiz, which could be a possibility. I am on to writing quiz number 87, though I have got 89, but one of them was kind of, someone gave me the questions off the internet. So I don't really count those 2. I don't think they'll go in the book, because I did add other questions, but I don't think they're appropriate. Okay, right. Well, I've got a piece of paper to do my notes, because nobody ever helps me anymore with the, telling. So I will do the telling myself. Right. Okay. So, right. Are we ready for a quiz? You need Bamber to get out so he can do University Challenge. I think you're thinking of a different Bamber. So there we are. That's a different person entirely. Anyway. Alfie's mum talks of the Menendez and say they were adults. They could have just left home. It wasn't as simple as that. I think that has been explained on multiple occasions. I totally disagree with you, but you are entitled to your view. I just think your view is completely inappropriate. So there we go. I won't go down that road. You would like the first quiz I ever wrote? Well, the first quizzes were on bits of paper, so they're all in a folder, but they're not in any particular order. So I don't know which one was the first I ever wrote. But you can have one that comes from the past, from that folder. So you'll get 2 quizzes tonight, okay? Right. Yes. Okay, are you ready for a quiz? Yes. As Robert Tideman says, if they left, the father threatened to unalive them, i.e. kill them. That is totally true. So there you go. The father was the parents wanted to take them on a yacht, and they were very worried about what would go on this yacht, and that did happen. And they expected to die on that yacht. They were very lucky they didn't. But, they were expecting the next time they would die. I think the first time was just an expedition to see how they could get away with it. But the parents were very unpleasant, evil people. There we go. They did not have 64 relatives who would take them in. That is incorrect. That is not correct. That is not part of the narrative. And you are wrong. So there we are. Okay, are we ready for a quiz? Are you ready for a quiz? Yes. Okay, right. Well, we've got it one yes. Okay, so I'm going to ask you the first question. Which Labour politician threatened to sue the novelist Frederick Forsyth after he made reference to a nondescript, forgettable little fellow with a nasal voice? Which was the Labour politician who he described as a nondescript, instantly forgettable little fellow with a nasal voice? It was not Tony Blair and it wasn't Diana Abbott. No. It wasn't Gove. And Michael Gove is not Labour. It wasn't Robin Cook. It wasn't Gordon Brown. No. It wasn't Keir Starmer. No. It wasn't Blunkett. It wasn't Jeremy Corbyn. It wasn't him that smoked a pipe, and it wasn't Angela Rayner. It wasn't Bernie Grant. It wasn't John Prescott. It wasn't Neil Kinnock. No, it wasn't Peter Mandelson. It wasn't John Major. Of course, John Major was not Labour. It wasn't Jeremy Thorpe, who, of course, was Liberal Democrat, so it wasn't him. No. A nondescript, instantly forgettable little fellow with a nasal voice. It wasn't Rachel Reeves, Queen of Thieves. And it can't be a woman because it was a little fellow. It wasn't Frank Field. It was somebody to do with the Greater London Council, if you want a clue. It wasn't Michael Foot, no. It wasn't Frank Field. It wasn't Ed Balls. Ross gets the point. Well done to Ross. Point number one is awarded to Ross. It was Ken Livingstone, the then leader of the Greater London Council, who did not successfully sue Freddie Forsyth. Okay. Next question. What colour are the spikes of the lavender plant? What colour are the spikes of a lavender plant? The flowers on the lavender plant. What colour? Adam Forbes, you can have it as purple. Adam Forbes. They are kind of blue-purple coloured. They flower from June to September, and they are loved by pollinators. There we go. In which 1969 film did Fresh from Oliver Mark Lester star? Which film? Which was the name of the film? It wasn't Whistle Down the Wind. Which film did he star in after Oliver? Mark Lester. It wasn't Fiddler on the Roof. No, it wasn't Whistle Down the Wind. I loved Whistle Down the Wind. It wasn't Keep Your Bloomers On. Right. It wasn't Oliver. I said Fresh from Oliver. He'd been in Oliver. Tallulah gets the point. It was Run Wild, Run Free. So Tallulah gets the point. Well done to Tallulah. Of course, he was a 10-year-old. He played a mute. There was John Mills, Sylvia Sims. It was all said on Dartmoor. Okay, in which Kent town would you find Butt, B-U-T-T, Haw, H-A-W, Close? Where would you find Butt Haw Close? It leads to Nursery Gardens on its sign, it says. It wasn't Ramsgate. It wasn't Peckham, it wasn't Broadstairs, it wasn't Canterbury, it wasn't Whitstable, it wasn't Margate, it wasn't Tunbridge Wells, it wasn't Ashford, it isn't Canterbury, it's not Broadstairs under Dogging. I don't know what that means. It's not Katie Price's house, it's not Appledore, it's not Doncaster. Doncaster is not in Kent, it's not Dartford. No. No. So in which Kent town would you find But Haw Close? It's not Dover. We've already had Ashford. That's been rejected. It's not Hythe. It's not Bromley. Audrey gets the point. It is Rochester. Rochester is where you would find But Haw Close. There we go. It was on a list of naughty Kent place names. There we go. Okay, in Northumberland slang, what is a derg? What is a derg? D-E-R-G. What is a derg? Northumberland slang, which is kind of Scottish and Geordie influences. Jane Hennessy gets the point. It is a dog. Well done, Jane Hennessy. Jane Hen, as I will call you. Right, okay. So, yes, right, that's that. How many years after opening on the 10th of June 2000 did the Millennium Bridge, and I walked across it the first day it ever opened because I lived right behind it when I was at university, reopen after wobbling in the wind? How many years later did it reopen? It wasn't 3, it wasn't 25, it wasn't 5. Joyce Grove can have the point. Well done, Joyce. It is 2 years. It reopened 2 years afterwards when they'd stabilized it because it was a bit of a wobbly bridge. It was very badly designed. Okay, next question. In which year did Tom Hanks and Paul Newman star in A Road to Perdition? What year did they star in Road to Perdition? No, it wasn't 1990. It wasn't 1994. The first person to answer correctly, getting a second point, taking you into the lead, is Tallulah, 2002. Thank you, Tallulah. It was about a Depression-era gangster drama. Okay. At what age did British diver Tom Daley compete at the Beijing Olympics in 2008? What year did he compete in the Beijing Olympics? He dived subsequently. Scott gets the point. Scott Fern. New entrant, Scott Fern. He was 14 years old. He dived at 5 games, collected 5 medals, and he got gold at Tokyo in 2020. He's very into knitting, isn't he? That's one of his things. Okay, with what sport do Pontefract, Southwell, and Fontwell have in common? What do they have in common, those places? Lois Petzold gets the point first. Well done to Lois, a new entrant. A regular, but yes, they are all to do with horse racing. Okay, in which year did Robert Redford have his directorial debut with Ordinary People? He won 4 Oscars for it. Donald Sutherland, it was about white people problems, privilege and pain. The correct answer, the first one to get it, is Trevor. It is 1980. Obviously, it won the 4 Oscars in 1981. But right, we've got Tallulah in the lead and lots of others with 1 point. So there we are. With which sport is Australian Nick Kyrgios associated? Nick Kyrgios. Scott Fern now goes into joint first place. It is tennis, of course. So well done to Nick, to Scott Fern. Of course, Nick Kyrgios He's the bad boy of tennis. He's smashed up rackets. He's been booed off court. He's assaulted people, girlfriends. He said to Louis Theroux, it was impossible the pyramids were built by humans. So he's a little bit mental, isn't he? He's a bit of a naughty man, that one. Anyway, well done to Scott Fern. So well done. What was served? Now, here's the one that we mentioned earlier, the stupid House of Lords. In the House of Lords canteen, the River restaurant, to mark Pride Week, what did they serve? There are two options. I'll accept either option or both. It wasn't pie and mash, no. It wasn't a rainbow salad, no. It wasn't mini cheddars, it wasn't gammon, it wasn't trifle, it wasn't eels, it wasn't fruit salad, it wasn't artichoke ravioli, no. It wasn't pizza, it wasn't steak and chips. To mark the Pride Week, it wasn't rainbow trout. That would have been more appropriate. It wasn't sausage and two dumplings. That's a little bit naughty, Anne of Cleves. It wasn't rainbow cake, no. Tallulah can have the point. Well done. 3 points to Tallulah, taking you back into the lead. Tallulah, they did serve a rainbow crumble, which was made with red and blue food coloring. They also served a rainbow couscous, which was decorated with Progress Pride flags. There has been a little bit of outrage from certain quarters, whether it was popular or not. I believe it cost about £2.15. That's what I believe the cost was for the rainbow crumble, because, of course, all their food is subsidized, which is absolutely shameful, isn't it? Right, okay, next question. Tallulah is doing very well, yes. Tallulah has 3 points. Scott Thurn has 2 points. And the rest of you have 1 point who have been successful. Leslie S. doesn't like food dye. Okay, well, that's fair enough. I don't like food dye either. I think, no, thank you. Okay, next question. Though born in Halifax, Yorkshire, and brought up in Suffolk, what does singer Ed Sheeran identify as? What does he class his culture as? What does Ed Sheeran identify as? It's not ginger and it's not Scottish. It's not alien. It's not Ipswichian, no. Tina De Silva gets the point, new entrant. Well done, Tina. He is identifying as Irish. So there we go. I don't know why, but he has many Irish relatives. But he says, I class my culture as Irish. There we go. Okay, well, what did Chicken Licken fear would fall on all our heads? What did Chicken Licken, this is an easy question, what did Chicken Licken think was going to fall on our heads? Lois now gets a second point, so joint second for Lois. It's, of course, the sky. Chicken Licken thought the sky would cave in on us. Okay, in which year did the wonderful comedy drama starring Bill Murray and Andy McDowell, Groundhog Day, premiere? Which year did it? Groundhog Day premiere. Tina De Silva now gets another point. So second point for Tina De Silva. It's 1993. Obviously, it was about a surly weatherman, the annual Groundhog Day festival, and he had to go through the loop of trying to work out how to be nicer to people to get out of the loop of being the same day every day. So there we go. I did enjoy that lovely film. It was a lovely film, and I'd like to watch it again one day. Okay, what experience did Agatha Christie have in 1922 in Hawaii that she described as heaven? What did she do? She was one of the very few women that were able to do this at that time, because it was not something that women did. She didn't drown, no. Matt Luke Ken gets it correct. Matt Luke Ken, she went surfing. Yes, she was into surfing. So that's what she achieved. I learned about that today. Okay, who once said, I'd agree with you, but then I'd be wrong? Who once said, I'd agree with you, but then I'd be wrong? Yes, Matt was very quick there. Well done, Matt. Scott Fern gets another point. So now Scott Fern is in joint first. Well done to you. There we are. That's very good. Of course, it was Winston Churchill. It wasn't Spike Milligan. It wasn't Margaret Thatcher. It wasn't Noel Coward. It wasn't Mark Twain. It wasn't Matthew Steeples. But there we go. But I do think it's a great quote. I would agree with you, but then I'd be wrong. So it's a useful quote. Next time someone says something stupid to me, I may use that quote my very self. My computer's telling me it's my bedtime reminder. It's getting late, so we better hurry up. But we're going to have another quiz. Right. With which sport is Irishman Joe McCarthy associated? Joe McCarthy. Tina De Silva loves the quote. I love the quote too. It's one I'm going to definitely remember. I will put a red line right next to it so I can remember it. Definitely a good one. The first person to answer correctly is Matt Luke Ken, so you get a second point, Matt Luke. Of course, he was involved in he's involved in rugby union. He plays for Ireland. He plays for Leinster. He's a lock. That's what he plays as. He's got caps, Lions 0, tests 19, and of him, Will Greenwood says a big ball carrying. Oh, gosh, he's a naughty thing. Second row who carries things. He carries things. There you go. So he quite likes him. Does Will Greenwood? Will Greenwood's quite a useful thing for quizzes because he gave me there's a whole page of all these players. So anyway, I won't hint where I found this, but it's a useful quiz resource. Put it that way. Okay, in which year did the architect Richard Rogers, a Lord Rogers, who used to live at the end of the road where I used to live, Royal Avenue, Chelsea, die? What year did Richard Rogers die in? And of course, his wife runs the most wonderful restaurant, the River Cafe, a fabulous place that my mother really loves and my sister really, really loves. Fabulous food, great place. What year did he die? It wasn't 2024, it wasn't 1945, it wasn't 2023. Audrey gets it, so a second point for Audrey. It was 2021. And your final question, now we have, we may have a problem here because we've got Scott with 3 points, Tallulah with 3 points. And we have a couple of you with 2 points, so we'll see what happens. Okay, what did now ex Vanity Fair editor? Oh gosh, I've forgotten his name. I've forgotten to put it in. Right, just give me a moment. Oh gosh, I've written it down incorrectly. Editor, Vanity Fair. Sorry, my question was written down correctly. Graydon Carter, of course. What did Graydon, now ex Vanity Fair editor, Graydon Carter? I'm going to have to write this into my thing because I failed to write it correctly. Right, just give me one moment because I better write this down. I didn't write my question correctly. I was rudely interrupted by someone on the phone whilst I was writing this one. So I think that's probably why I didn't. Allegedly fined. So I'll begin the question again. What did now ex Vanity Fair editor Graydon Carter allegedly find in the front yard of his Connecticut home after supposedly upsetting Jeffrey Epstein? What did he find in the front yard of his home? It wasn't a body. I haven't got a hot date. No, unfortunately not. I wish I did. It wasn't fish fingers and it wasn't a horse's head. It wasn't an unexploded bomb. It wasn't an alligator. It wasn't a horse's head. It wasn't a dogging manual. Rose gets it. Rose gets it. So well done to Rose. It was the severed head of a dead cat. So he said it was done to intimidate. No question about it, he said. So there we are, the severed head of a dead cat, and he tried to blame Jeffrey Epstein for this because he'd upset Jeffrey Epstein. So whether that was true or not, we do not know, because obviously Jeffrey Epstein is not here to be refute or deny. Right, so we have a problem. We do have a problem. We have Tallulah with 3 points, and we have Scott Thurn with 2 points. So, right, I need to give you another question that is not in my quiz. So, right, here is today's Daily Mail. I will open a random page, and I'll think of a question. Right, let me find something relevant. Right, but the only two people who can answer this question will be Scott Fern. Are you ready, Scott Fern? Please confirm you are ready, Scott Fern. And Tallulah. Is Tallulah ready also? Or do we have Tallulah? Anybody else, please don't answer the question because you don't need to answer. We have Scott versus Tallulah. But is Tallulah present? Tallulah, let's be having you. Right, okay, we've got the two of you. So I'm going to choose a random question. Let me find something that could be easy. Okay. Right. I'm sorry about the noise in the background. Someone's half asleep. Right. Okay. There's a word coined in the 1820s. What does this word mean? Tallulah and Scott. Tallulah and Scott, the first of you to answer wins the quiz. The word is panickin, spelt P-A-N-N-I-K-I-N. What does panickin mean? Can we have yes. What does panickin mean? P-A-N-N-I-K-I-N. No, it does not mean clothes. But I can only accept an answer from Scott or Tallulah. Tallulah hasn't provided an answer yet. Scott, however, has provided the correct answer, so Scott is the winner. Scott has 4 points. It is a type of cup coined in the 1820s, a panickin. There we go. So, Scott, well done. Well done also to Tallulah, who comes second with 3 points. Well done to Ross, Adam Forbes, Audrey, Jane, Joyce, Lois, Trevor, whatever. I don't know how many Trevors we've got, but we've got lots of Trevors. Tina De Silva, Matt, Luke, Ken also. So thank you for your success. Well done for joining in, and well done. So the Daily Mail did provide the tiebreaker, so thank you to you all. Now I will pull out another quiz. I'll find a random page, and you can have a random quiz, and then I'm going to bed. I'll say nighty-night and sleep tight after that. There's a lot of noise going on outside. I've got no idea why. Right, a random page. Okay, next quiz. This is an old one. I don't know. I don't know if that one's very exciting. Let's find another one. I'll just choose a random quiz just a moment because I'll have to lean across. Right. Okay, right. The next quiz. So now I need to find a bit of paper to write it on. I've got the back of this piece of paper, so I can use that. I'm running out of bits of paper. I need more paper, or little bits of paper just to write things on. I'm always trying to find bits of paper. I now have a quiz book that I write in because it's more organized. But there we go. So are we ready for the next quiz? The next quiz. Here we go. Right. It's better to remain silent and be thought a fool than to speak and to remove all doubt. That's a good quote also. I don't know who said that, but that's a future quiz question if we can find the answer to it. So who actually said that? Alfie's mum? I don't know, but that's not a quiz question for our audience. Right. Right. I don't know who said that, but I think you might be right. It could have been Mark Twain. Okay. Okay. In 2025, how old did Britain's oldest gun maker, John Rigby and Co., turn? How old did it turn? How many years old was the Britain's oldest gun maker? Its fans include Nigel Farage, Donald Trump Jr. They make rifles associated with Dublin, and royal warrants from 5 kings and Queen Elizabeth II. It wasn't 150. No, it wasn't 108. It wasn't 300. It wasn't 98. Nope. Lois Petzold gets the first point. Well done, Lois. Lois gets the point. It was 250. Okay. How many children did Sir Nicholas Winton help escape from the Nazis? How many children approximately? Of course, he was played in One Life. You've had this quiz before. Yes, you're getting a repeat of the old quiz. This is just an old quiz. You asked for a second quiz, and I haven't written any more, so you're getting an old one. So you're getting an old one again. So, yeah. It wasn't 300. It wasn't 660, though you are close. The Blue Nomad is close with 600, but Audrey is closer with 660. So anyone any closer? Jane Hennessy is the closest. I will award to Jane Hennessy because it was 699 and Jane Hennessy says 700. So I can allow Jane Hennessy your one child out, unfortunately. Would have been better if he'd saved 700, but he saved 699. And that was absolutely amazing, wasn't it? So what an amazing man he was. Of course, there was the wonderful film One Life, played by Anthony Hopkins, the whole thing about Esther Ranson. And a lady I knew called Flor Kent, she did a statue to do with the children at Liverpool Street Station, which is, of course, where many of those children arrived. So there we go. He was a great man, and there we are. He did absolutely fabulous things, and he was very much under the radar. He didn't want commendation. He was just a decent man. So what a hero he was. Okay, what does the word susurrus, spelled S-U-S-U-R-R-U-S, coined in 1830 mean? What does it mean? I can accept Leslie S. saying whispering. It means a soft murmur. So Leslie S. will allow you the point. Okay. Thank you, Leslie S. Right. Okay. Next question is, in May 2025, how many goals had Jamie Vardy achieved in his 500th appearance for Leicester City? What was the number of goals he'd achieved on that date? It wasn't 6, it wasn't 39, it wasn't 5, it wasn't 18, it wasn't 52, it wasn't 100, it wasn't 22, it wasn't 158, it wasn't 41. Ross is close. I will allow Ross. You can have the answer. Ross can have it with 198. You are the closest. It was 200. It was his 200th goal. Of course, nickname Vard, signed from Fleetwood Town 13 years prior. Of course, his wife had the whole Wagatha Christie trial with Colleen O'Rooney. So there we go. Mrs. O'Rooney, the Wagatha Christie. So there we go. What was the name of the UK's 2025 entry song to the 2025 Eurovision Song Contest? What was the name of the song? It was a girl band called Remember Monday. It was awarded 0 points in the public vote. It was stupid, and it came 19th out of 26 places. It wasn't Crap Buster. It was, as Dixie says, What the Hell Just Happened? What a silly name for a song. What the hell just happened? No wonder it wasn't very popular. In which year was Wagner's Parsifal first performed? It was part of a stage consecration play. What year was Wagner's Parsifal first performed? It was not 1984. It wasn't 1899. It wasn't 1780. It wasn't 1862. No, we're not getting any correct answer yet. Audrey is closest, so I think, Audrey, you'll have to be awarded the point, even though you are not exactly correct, but you are 1 year away. Audrey says 1881. The actual correct answer was 1882, but Ross came a little late. I'd already awarded the point, so I will give the point to Audrey because she got there first. Right, okay, next question. With which sport are both Jamie Osborne and his daughter Safi Osborne associated? Jamie and Safi Osborne. It's not golf. SS Racing gets it. SS Racing, well, it's appropriate you answer it because, of course, it's horse racing. He's a trainer and she's a jockey. So there you go. Jamie and Safi Osborne, two lovely people. Absolutely great people. Wonderful. There we go. Okay. As of 2025, what does the Fat Badger restaurant at 310 Portobello Road, London, W10 not have? What doesn't it have? Not meat, not a bar, not food, not a loo, not an alcohol license, not booze, not a Michelin star. Probably doesn't have a Michelin star, but it doesn't have ketchup. No. Lois Petzold gets it. So Lois goes into the lead. Of course, it doesn't have a telephone number. It has a set menu, however, for £85 a head, or it's £60 if you want the bargain basement on a Sunday. So there you go. Okay, what should a semicolon be used for in a sentence? What does a semicolon do in a sentence? To introduce a pause, correct. Dixie is correct. So Dixie now has 2 points. Lois Petzold has 2 points. So we've got two of you in the lead. Obviously, a semicolon. Where I? Oh, I'm missing my. Two smaller sentences being more closely related than the average two consecutive sentences. There we go. As of 2025, what percentage of homes in Chelsea-on-Sea, that is Salcombe in Devon, are second homes? What percentage? It's not 50, it's not 30, it's not 35, it's not 25, it's 65. It's close, but it's not correct. Leslie S gets the point. So now we've got three people in first place. Leslie S is correct with 60. So well done to Leslie S. Okay, as of 2025, which Chinese car maker owns 51% of Lotus? They also own Volvo and build London black taxis. What's the name of the company? It's not Toyota. It's not BID. It's not 75 upwards. It's not Wayne King. It's not Kia. It's not Datsun. It's not Saab. Nope. It's not Bird. It's not Trevor. It's not Daihatsu. It's not Nissan. It's not Tara. No. The question is, as of 2025, which Chinese car maker owns 51% of Lotus, also owns Volvo, and builds London's black taxis? Nope, not Nissan. It's not Skoda. Skoda is not Chinese, as far as I'm aware. It's not Suzuki. It's not Ford, which is also not Chinese. Ross gets the point. So now we've got another person. We've got three of you in joint first. So Ross, Lois, and Dixie, and Leslie S. In fact, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of you in joint first. It's Geely. Geely is the name of the company. Okay, well, we're on to question number 12. So we've got all things to play for here. Which member of the royal family believes in talking to plants as they respond? Flabby has never heard of Geely. Well, there you go. You've learned something new. Dixie gets the point. So Dixie now goes into the lead with 3 points. Well done to Dixie. The answer is King Charles. In which English county is Carsington Reservoir situated? It was opened in 1992 by Queen Elizabeth II. Which year is it situated? Which county is it situated? It's not Lancashire, it's not Peckham, it's not Suffolk. Peckham is not a county. It's not Oxfordshire or Cheshire, it's not Hampshire, and it's not Penge. Penge is not a county. It's not Yorkshire or Somerset or Buckinghamshire or York, because York is not a county. Northumberland, no. It's not Lancaster, that's not a county either. It's not Exeter, it's not Devon, it's not the Isle of Wight, it's not Devon. Jane Hennessy gets the point. So Jane Hennessy now gets a second point. So we've got a number of people in second place. Lois is in second place, Jane is in second place, Leslie is in second place, Ross is in second place, and Dixie is in first place. So well done to you. It, of course, is Derbyshire. So there we are. In which year did the film Malcolm X premiere? What year did Malcolm X premiere? It wasn't 1990, it wasn't 2010, it wasn't 1998, it wasn't 1972, it wasn't 1991, it wasn't 2005, it wasn't 1998, it wasn't 2000, it wasn't 2012, it wasn't 1995. Audrey gets the point, so Audrey gets the second point. It was 1992. It starred Denzel Washington, Spike Lee. It was a small-time gang member to generational leader. That was basically what it was about. So there we go. Okay, who starred in the 1990 Cold War thriller The Hunt for Red October? I can accept 3 options. Give me the first star of the film. Who would you name as a star? Dixie, it would say, is Sean Connery. So Dixie now has 4 points, taking Dixie firmly into the lead. Obviously, Sean Connery was a major star. There was Alec Baldwin, and there was James Earl Jones. Which sport is Australian Oscar Piastri, not Pistorius, forget him. Oscar Piastri associated. What sport is Oscar Piastri? Formula One, yes, correct. Flabby. So Flabby gets the point. I was thinking of Oscar Pistorius, but I'm sorry. The question was Oscar Piastri, as I say. In motor racing, he's involved with McLaren as of the moment. Okay, what was Sir Winston Churchill given for his 88th birthday in 1962 by his private secretary, Sir Jock Colville? What was he given? Tina De Silva gets it straight away. Tina, well done, Tina. It was a cat. He was given a ginger cat. And obviously it was a marmalade cat called Jock, and he kept it at Chartwell. And since then, there have been a number of other cats. We're on to, since 2020, the latest is called Jock the Seventh. And Jock the Seventh is the latest to live at Chartwell. Right, okay. So, right, the next question. For how many years did Sir David Suchet portray Agatha Christie's super sleuth Hercule Poirot? How many years was he playing him on the television? It wasn't 25, it wasn't 36, it wasn't 25, it wasn't 9, it wasn't 25, it wasn't 21, it wasn't 12, it wasn't 22, it wasn't 20, it wasn't 14, it wasn't 8, it wasn't 10, it wasn't 20, it wasn't 15. It wasn't too many. I think he was very good at it. It wasn't 32, it wasn't 18, it wasn't 30, it wasn't 23, it wasn't 31, it wasn't 27, but you're close. Anne of Cleves is the closest at the moment. If nobody else gets it in the next second, I will accept Anne of Cleves. But SS Racing gets there first. It's 28. SS Racing. So, you're already on the list. So you get a second point. Well done to you. And this is the penultimate question. For what was John Craven given an OBE? What was he given? One option. What was he given a OBE? What was the reasoning? Services to what? Joyce Grove gets the point. Services to broadcasting. So Joyce Grove immediately straight in there. Well done, Joyce Grove. Okay. And the final question. In which year did the Sex Pistols make the classic album Nevermind the Bollocks? Which year? Hatchie gets the point. 1977. Hatchie, a new entrant, but too late to win. So our winner is Dixie with 4 points. Well done to Dixie with 4 points. Of course, rock's most violent storm of youth rebellion, said Neil McCormack in The Telegraph in May 2025. So Dixie wins with 4 points. And in joint second place comes Lois with 2 points, Jane Hennessy with 2 points, Leslie S. with 2 points, Ross with 2 points, Audrey with 2 points, SS Racing with 2 points. And then we have, notable mentions for Flabby, 1 point, Tina De Silva, Joyce Grove, and Hatchie with 1 point. So thank you very much for participating in my little second repeat quiz. So that's enough quizzes for one day. We have been going for exactly 2 hours, and I think it's 10 past 10 here in France. It's time for me to go to bed shortly, and that is that. So, yes, have we any more questions before we go? Any more questions? Right. Any questions? No questions. Has somebody got gaffer tape? Well, maybe not. We'll see what happens. No, they haven't. Of course not. But I think they'll probably be sleeping on the sofa tonight. I think it's probably a better place for them. There we go. How long does it take to write a quiz? Probably about an hour and a bit. I go through different books and newspapers and try and find something contemporary and something to do with sport and mix it all up. What hair product do I use? Some kind of L'Oreal thing. I can't remember what it's called. Just a simple thing that, just keeps my hair swept back. It's the best thing for it. But yes, she has been quiet tonight. Yes, that's no bad thing. We do need a bit of quiet from time to time. Have I ever been in a jacuzzi? I have been in one, but I'm not really interested in jacuzzis. I don't know what the thing is, but right. Right. But we will be having a period of absence on Friday because I have to collect somebody from the airport. So Friday, there will be no television program of this YouTube channel. There will, unfortunately, because the collection time is late in the evening. So we have to go on a long journey to collect our friend. So we're going on a little outing on Friday. Right. But we will be having people joining in from Friday onwards, so that will be nice. And thank you very much for all your likes. That's wonderful. Do a live from the airport. I don't know if that might. I don't think that will really work. It might be a disaster. So, I don't think that might be a good idea. Well, I could try, but I don't know. Yes, my views on Jeremy Thorpe. Well, obviously, I have a friend who was a victim of an attempted murder by Jeremy Thorpe, so which obviously he wasn't convicted of, but Jeremy Thorpe, obviously, I've never met this man, but he's been a big supporter of my channel. I think you know who he is, but I'm not going to bring his name into it because it's not really fair. He lives in Devon, and he's a man who has a different life now, and you've all seen about him in the programs. But anyway, there we go. So yes, I don't know Jeremy Thorpe, and of course George Carman, whose lady friend I was meant to do a dinner with, but it didn't happen in the end. But I did read her book, and I have talked about the book and written about it. But Karen Phillips, so yes, I have mentioned that before. So of course, George Carman was his legal representative. Have anyone remarked you look like Humphrey Bogart? No, I've never had that one before. I've had all sorts of other references, but I don't believe I look like Humphrey Bogart, but there we are. Right, okay. Right. You didn't have any connection issues tonight. Very good. I'm glad that you could be able to connect. I don't understand all this technology. I don't know how it works. It's all very ridiculous. Do I look like Michael Fabricant? I'm not intending to look like Michael Fabricant, but there we go. Glad you've all had a laugh. So I agree. It's better to laugh than cry, isn't it? So as long as people are cheerful, you're off to water your veg. Okay, well, I hope you have a great time watering your veg. I was planning to water the garden, but it'll just wait till the morning now. So I will go and do that tomorrow morning because we don't have any lights outside. So I'll have to leave it at that. Right. Mr. Khan is visiting Saint-Tropez. I don't know Mr. Khan, really. I don't think Sadiq Khan would want to come here, but there we go. Funny place for him to want to visit. Right. Okay. Well, I will say thank you very much for your patience, your kindness, your generosity of spirit, and good night and good gardening. Pip pip to you all. Take care. Goodbye.